Okay, what is good, boys and girls? This is going to be a quarterly theory plus SSMT or sequential SMT video. And without further ado, I'll get straight into it. So essentially what quarterly theory is, it is the theory and the ideology that the market runs based off cycles. So in quarterly theory, we have 4 quarters, obviously, and each quarter will have its collective role to play in a set of 4 quarters. In the quarters, you will have a yearly cycle, which is January to March, and then Q2 is April to June, Q3 is July to August, and Q4 is October to December. And then we have a monthly cycle. It's basically just each week is each quarter. And then on a weekly cycle, we have Mondays, quarter 1, Tuesday, quarter 2, Wednesday, quarter 3, and Thursday as quarter 4. And then Friday isn't a trading day if you are trading quarterly theory. And then in the daily cycle, we have Asia, London, New York, and the New York afternoon session. And then within those, we have different 90-minute cycles. To make all of this a lot easier, I have an indicator for this, and it is called Day Quarterly Theory by 2 degrees. And as you can see, it's displayed down here. So it's all good knowing these quarters, but what does each quarter actually do? You'll either have an AMDX or an XAMD profile. A stands for accumulation, which literally looks like consolidation, equal highs, equal lows, in a tight range, disrespecting PDRAs on both sides of the market. We don't want to trade this in quarterly theory. Then we will get a manipulation, which is usually into a higher time frame fair value gap or any higher time frame PDRA or just any liquidity pool in general. And you can trade this, but I would wait for the distribution phase, which I'll get into now. And now the distribution, which is essentially just delivering to the other side of the range and also beyond that range to go and target other draws on liquidity. Fairly simple for the AMD part. I'm sure you know what AMD is if you are trying to learn quarterly theory. So X stands for the continuation or reversal based on where we are in the market, really. And this is sort of hard to gauge what's going to happen, but my favorite way of doing this is drawing a fib on the manipulation leg. Let's just say it was like this. And if we've delivered to the standard deviation levels, then I would class that as a reversal, but that's a whole nother concept for a whole nother video. So far we have accumulation, manipulation, distribution, and continuation or reversal. That is what the AMDX stands for, and it is the same in XAMD. However, it is just the continuation or reversal first, and then the second quarter accumulates, and then it starts this cycle. Making this in line with the quarters, this is what an AMDX profile would look like. Quarter 1 would be classed as the accumulation because we are moving in a tight range with no real structure. And then quarter 2 comes down and manipulates, so that would be the M, and now it is safe to assume that this would be an AMDX profile. So we have the distribution phase now, which is this leg up, and then quarter 4 would be a continuation or reversal, and that's this here. So now an XAMD profile. Here we have a continuation, or it could be a reversal from the previous quarterly cycle. So this would be classed as an X, as we are not accumulating now. And then we move into quarter 2, which has our accumulation phase, tight range, engineering liquidity. And then quarter 3, now we see our manipulation lower to sweep out this side of the accumulation range. And then our Q4 is our distribution. It's fairly simple stuff, really. It isn't that hard to understand. So now let's look at some real chart examples so you can see how it looks on a real chart. So this indicator marks out which quarter you're in. So this first quarter, we are accumulating, very easy to spot. And then in the second quarter, we manipulate higher to take out liquidity and the accumulation highs. Now we are in quarter 3, we will assume that this quarter will distribute lower, which is exactly what we do. So this would be classed as an AMDX profile because we had our accumulation in the first quarter down here, and then second quarter we manipulated, and then third quarter we distributed lower, and now in this fourth quarter it looks like we're just accumulating again. And for this example, Sometimes quarterly theory just doesn't work 100% of the time. Okay, so this is an XAMD profile, and why is that? Because this first quarter is clearly a continuation from the previous quarterly cycle. As you can see, we didn't accumulate at all, we continued lower. And now in the second quarter, we start to accumulate again, tight range, disrespecting PD rays on both sides of the market. So that would be our A. Now it is safe to assume that this quarter will manipulate higher, which is exactly what it does. So this is our manipulation, and then literally the exact moment that last quarter comes on, we now see a distribution lower. So an XAMD profile. Extremely easy. And now I'll look into sequential SMT. So I actually have an indicator for this from Taking Profits. Shout out to him. Very good indicator. I'll explain what sequential SMT is quickly. So it is basically like normal SMT. However, it is time based. For example, if ES makes a high in quarter 1 and NQ also has the same high in quarter 1, then in quarter 2, ES makes a higher high, whereas NQ makes a lower high. That will be sequential SMT because it is in between quarters. That's the only difference between sequential SMT and normal SMT, is that the SMT occurs in different quarters. So for example, as you can see, this quarter is quarter 2, and we have a low on NQ and we have a low on ES. Now, this is the next quarter in quarter 3. NQ makes a higher low, whereas AS makes a lower low, therefore making it sequential SMT. Very simple. All you need to do is see if there was SMT in different quarters. And I'll look again here. There's also some right here. As you can see, in this first quarter, quarter 1, NQ makes a higher high, AS has a high here, and then now we move into the second quarter where NQ makes a lower high, whereas AS makes a higher high. Therefore, it will be sequential SMT. And you can see this indicator picks everything up very easily. You can see again here. That's probably the end of the video. If you do have any questions, feel free to hop in my Discord and ask away. I do have a quarterly theory cheat sheet and also a sequential SMT cheat sheet that I have in my Discord that is completely free. So go join that and like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.